somebody to keep time.
We don't have a quorum though.
We do, we have a quorum.
Important
Do
people
we
are
have
here.
a quorum? How many people are logged in?
I think the important people are
No one's
two board
logged in
members,
online.
not counting the chair.
3. But how many people are calling in? Have they called in?
I got no one so
Nobody
far.
yet?
So
Yep.
no quorum yet.
All right, no quorum yet.
Well, can you share? Well, I guess you need to leave then.
Short meeting, huh?
Yeah.
Anthony's running behind, he'll be here, he's behind a rack. Eric is on his way.
Better be in
Those two I know that are on their way. John is supposed to be calling in. Oh, Michael Stapleton said he might be a few minutes late. He was backed up on I-25.
Everybody's backed up on I-25. I-70 is backed up on I-25.
Well, since mine is the shortest drive of everyone.
Better than you are.
I had to go county line to Yosemite around all that shit. And Monaco, just to get back to Yale, to get back to the freeway.
Was there some sort of an accident or something?
I'm sure it has to do with the game.
Oh, I know. Google Maps didn't list an accident, but it just was just bleeding red everywhere.
Oh,
I'm sure it has to do with the
At
game
least,
tonight, right?
Down there?
3
No.
fire trucks and.
Oh, 'cause it's already
ambulances
started,
on the
right?
way.
Well, yeah, but that
Yeah.
yours is over,
And that
over
was
here. This was
not-
down south.
Oh, down
And they
south.
were going
Oh,
County
okay.
line to Yale, yeah. This was tech center shit.
Yeah.
And actually, north of Yale, it loosened up nicely.
So Victoria, is that meeting on Wednesday, is that definitely a go, the Well County one?
It's all gonna
Before I
change.
drive up there.
Yes, definitely a go.
Before I
I
add
will
it
be
to
there.
meetup. Okay.
It's a meeting to figure out a meeting, yes. You need to be there.
Do you want the general public there to put on
we'll
meetup?
sit over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a Wells County Libertarian Party Development Group development. The more the
Be
merrier.
on in.
Yeah.
It's on Facebook,
Yeah.
Yeah, but not everybody's there.
right, yeah, it should be on Meetup too. And Denver is stuff I have not seen on Meetup for some reason, they're not there.
They're probably stuck in traffic.
It's pretty slow.
Hey, John.
It's gonna be a joke anymore.
No, I'm
Sure was low. Drive for everybody.
Except the pitch was outside, guys.
Is Lance going to be here tonight?
He's supposed to be, unless he's calling in, I don't know. I have not talked to him since last week.
He's supposed to start the Facebook event.
Angela says she's dialed in.
To which... Oh, there we go. Hello?
I hear the game.
Someone's dialed in.
Angela, can you hear us?
I'm not getting any audio out of that stream.
You got paper for me, Mike? One.
I can throw it over there. We've got 5
Would you like
board
it
members, we
there?
still need one more to have a quorum.
It's already been deposited. I'll read it once. Yeah.
Trust me, Mike, we saw your aim earlier.
We got one of them in front of me.
This is weird.
This hangout's working, is she there?
Well, playing the test sound isn't working, which is concerning.
It's the Russians.
They're
The
hacking.
Russians,
they're-
uh-oh.
Yes, they're hacking our meeting.
Yeah. We're the first started.
She cannot hear us at all.
I'm gonna rejoin.
You hear a bunch of libertarians in the room not saying anything.
Saturday, my microphone wasn't working at all on the Zoom meeting until I rebooted. It's the Russians.
No, it's just Zoom being Zoom.
It's the zombies.
It's a Zombie.
Zombie apocalypse.
You know what?
How many people been waiting for that?
I thought the zombie apocalypse was a Democratic National Convention. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm wrong. That's not the Democrats. That's the Republicans. The Democrats is the circus with all the clowns in the car.
23 or
All right, can you hear us now?
I don't know. Yes, scorecard.
Oh, did she try calling? She's gone now.
They just need to shift their debates to American Idol format. Blow them off the island or something.
How many do we need for quorum?
6.
Six.
6
What,
is,
50%?
I don't know.
Give or take one.
But there's 11 board members,
Yeah, so it should be what?
so
30%?
6.
Well, 11.
I don't know what do the bylaws say?
Yeah.
The bylaws.
I don't think they say.
The bylaws say 50%. The bylaws say 50%.
Oh, that's
Did
why
she
we
hang
have
up?
Parliamentarian here.
Yes, that's why we have a parliamentarian.
She hang up from the call?
She says it looks like I'm the only person logged in.
Well, it doesn't look like she's on it anymore.
No. So that's one, no.
I'm an on-voting member.
3, 4, and one more again, right?
Yes, that's
So
fine.
five.
Actually,
Well,
no longer logged
she's
in.
no longer logged in.
It's still 4.
Well, doesn't that count here?
Here's 5.
You ever want 5? Thank you.
Sorry, just happened.
We need one more.
Okay, good.
There'll be one more person, so she logs back in, so.
Well, as long as she can as long as she can talk and participate, yes.
No, it's just a 10.
How do we know it's her if we don't hear her or she doesn't hear us? Could be something to ask her answer.
I don't think that's in the bylaws.
Has to be a sitting member.
Well, if somebody can read lips, you know.
It has to be either her or a proxy that she named, and she has not named a proxy, so it has to be her.
Yeah, but if she can't speak, she's still here.
How do you know that?
The computer will tell us. Ta-da!
0 points.
You are truly not paranormal.
Lance is asking if there's a new link.
No, it should be the one that I sent today. I'm definitely on it right now. It's the second one I sent. There was a problem with the first one.
Stableman gets her.
Western Slope people in
That's the one on the email, right?
Yeah, the second one, the second email.
Green Junction.
Grand Junction.
Green Junction.
Oh, Fruta.
Well, not quite.
Still
So that has a camera too?
Yes.
So they must have had it in the middle somewhere?
Yes, it was in the middle because
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Can you hear us?
Alright, we have a quorum.
Yeah, it's pretty excellent, but I...
Oh
Okay,
God.
if you're,
Okay,
Who is that on it?
That was Mike Stapleton.
Oh, okay.
so I have one change to the agenda. It was brought to my attention that 2 minutes for public commentary per person was too short, that even the government allows at least 3 minutes. So, I'd like to change that to 3 minutes if the board is okay with that.
So we're just doing that right now?
Mm-hmm. For the public commentary. Okay, let's start with a roll call and,
Okay.
who is, let's see, chairman is here, vice chair, treasurer,
Here.
fundraising director. Angela, can you hear us?
Angela's here now. I can see the room.
Campaigns
You can hear
director.
Angela really well. Woohoo!
Okay, is Mike Lopez here?
Who's the other person on there?
Outreach
Lance.
director,
Lance.
affiliate development director, membership director, communications director,
Here.
secretary.
Yeah.
All right, we have a quorum. We can get started. Has everyone had a chance to read the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Unless it's been modified recently.
The only modification that I'm asking for is to allow for 3 minutes instead of 2 minutes for the public commentary.
Do we want to do a motion to make that part of our policy?
you would be a motion to modify the agenda, yes.
I had stated that I would not make motions, but if anybody would like to make a motion to modify the agenda permanently to allow for 3 minutes for public commentary.
So moved.
Second.
Any objections? None. With no objections, it passes. Oh, pardon?
Adopt the agenda.
So now the agenda has been adopted. Is there any other changes to the agenda, any additions? Okay, first item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment, 3 minutes unless more time is needed, and then you can request that. And we will ask the board, so. Reagan?
I would ask for the 3 minutes, thank you very much, maybe possibly an exception only tonight, that if I were to go over 3 minutes, I receive a warning to wrap it up within the next 15 seconds.
Yeah, Eric's not here to keep time. Can somebody keep time for me, please? Would you keep time? Thank you. Mike?
I'm here representing Douglas County, and will I have an opportunity later to ask for some funding help for a postcard that we're sending out, or would you like for me to do that now?
Now would be a good time, I believe.
Okay. Douglas County, the Douglas County affiliate is going to include Elbert County, and we will very shortly be the Douglas Elbert County affiliate. So we include people that live in Elbert County. There's been several people that have indicated interest in starting a group out in Elbert County, but nobody's done it.
Wait, hold on. Can you have a mute on the other side, please? Whoever got the dog
Yeah,
barking.
that's Lance.
So anyhow, we want to send out postcards to all the Elbert County Libertarians to invite them to a meeting that we're going to be doing in Elizabeth in 6 weeks. And to introduce ourselves to them, to have them come in and introduce themselves to us, and then incorporate them along with Douglas County, maybe to a different meeting location that's closer to Douglas and Elbert County combined. So we'd like to send out postcards, and Mr. Atkin, could you pull up and see how many pieces we need to send out in order to hit all of the registered libertarians in Elbert County?
I can't do that right now, but I can, I'll get it to you in the next 24 hours.
Beautiful, thank you. So we can't really ask for a motion for funding right now.
You could.
You could.
Well, we could, but we don't know how many pieces we need to send out at this point.
But you could pick a dollar figure, $250, and then send as many as that'll cover.
When we did Douglas County 3 years ago, we sent out and we asked for, I think, $300 from the state party 3 years ago.
Elbert
And
about the
Elbert County would
same.
be a little bit smaller now, so I think probably $250 would be sufficient.
Okay.
So I can't make a motion, but can I ask maybe the Regions Director to make a motion on our behalf?
So if I could move to allot up to $250 to send, for Douglas County, the Douglas County affiliate send postcards to Elbert County Libertarian.
The affiliates director has moved to allot $250 for Douglas County. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Are there any opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Harlows?
I wanted to offer, well, two things I had. I wanted to offer a suggestion that the board consider modifying the agenda permanently to have an affiliate representative spot for any affiliates that send a rep, because our bylaws do provide for that. And, you know, maybe the affiliates would start sending reps to give reports if there was a spot for them on the agenda. That just crossed my mind. But my
That's a
other
great
thing is
idea.
I'm following up on something I asked about before.
Excuse me, I wasn't aware that public comment actually started.
Yeah,
Do you
it-
have a decorum in how
Oh, who
you
knows
take
when?
public comment, or do you just burst
Just
in?
raise your hand
Raise your hand
and you get
And so not to.
acknowledged.
Oh, so was I supposed to talk earlier then when I raised my hand?
No, you were just asking how it worked. That
Oh,
you
so I'd
wanted the
wait.
time and.
Yeah, As soon as she's finished, you can raise your hand and I'll give you the time.
Oh, okay.
To follow up on a question I had before, has all of the new board signed the SOP
Yes.
NAP things?
Yes, that was signed and verified at the last meeting. We
Okay, just
verified that
wanted to
everybody had
follow up on that
already
with my
signed that.
notes.
And the NAP. Mr. Atkin?
Back to Elbert County, John Pickerel included a list of all of the totals of all the registered voters in all the counties, and there were 226 in Elbert, so that would give you a ballpark number.
That's probably a ballpark, but the list is 11,000. If you add up every individual county he has, and we have 45,000 libertarians, so his list is inaccurate at this time.
Okay.
And just to add one thing to my comments with the Douglas thing, I would encourage the board to encourage our established affiliates to look at what counties are next to them and do the same thing.
Thank you.
Because a lot of them just don't know what to do. They take it under their wing, build it up, then they can split. I think that's a good growth point. I'm done.
Would you make a note to that, Steve?
So, I'd like to make a motion to allot time henceforth for affiliate directors or development group representatives to give updates on their affiliate development.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any opposed?
How much time?
How much time?
30 seconds.
I would suggest 2 minutes each.
You think so?
We're
Maybe
doing three for
Let's
public.
do
3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
There's a motion to allow 3 minutes for affiliates on the agenda.
That'd be a change to policy.
Is there on the agenda, is there that would be a change to the policy manual?
Right. Section 103-2.
Section 103-2, so the policy manual committee would look at that. So let's add that to the policy manual committee notes and bring it
What
up
about
at the
the
next
motion?
meeting.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Is this a motion?
The motion's still in order.
Yeah.
But it would be to direct the policy committee, not. Yeah. It would be to direct the policy manual committee to make this adjustment.
Okay, so the motion would be amended so that the policy manual committee would make the amendment to the policy manual for allowing 3 minutes for affiliates for commentary within the agenda. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Are there any opposed?
What's the difference between them just showing up in public and sitting down and saying stuff?
Well,
Why
having
do we
that
need a
time
separate
allotted
slot?
might encourage, like Karen Ann said, might encourage leaders.
So if somebody
show
were
up.
to read the policy manual and see that, they might be excited
Well, there
to
would be,
come to the board?
It would be on the agenda.
It'd be on the agenda, which would encourage the reports, and
From
also,
policy.
it's kind of the interaction needs to happen anyway with the board, so.
Thank you. for
All
the
right, I have no
clarification.
objection then.
All right, with no objections, it passes. Anybody else with public commentary? Yes.
I was gonna
Mr.
make
Benson.
public comment tonight, but your communication director is not here, so I can see him.
Oh,
I wanna be able to see him from
okay.
across the table. So I'll be back next time to make my public comment.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Regan?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna probably take the full 3 minutes and address the board. My name is Regan Benson, and some of you know me well, some of you don't. Some of you just know of me. I'm very active. I'm an activist for the individual out in the community. I do a lot of work on my own, nothing that's always real public or noticeable, but what is noticeable when I'm out dealing with people one-on-one is my direct conversation that I have with people about freedom and what freedom means. And I often refer people to check out the Libertarian Party because I myself have worked very hard for the past several years trying to find my niche in this party. Many of you know that I used to be a Republican, and I was invited to convention 3 years ago, I believe, and it was a great convention. I was asked to share my story about how the Republicans helped me become a Libertarian. It was a great opportunity. There were some great talks. My husband was there, the silent supporter who happened to drop, a few bills into the cash donation jar that went around for the party. That's my man there. We have 3 boys, 4 grandsons. We are self-employed. We've got this free market thing going on. So once again, I've tried to find my niche in the Libertarian Party. And I registered as a Libertarian again because I called out your communications director about some things that I felt he was failing at. And he challenged me behind the scenes, all via communication, via email, and told me that he had this grand plan to step down at the convention and that he needed to get reelected and then he would step down before the new board and I could possibly be appointed to be the new communications director. Well, he failed to actually expose that he was trying to get me to convention to set my hair on fire in front of everybody. And I figured it out because I'm smart, because I'm a strategist. I've ran my own campaign for school board. I've helped others run campaigns. I happen to be very logistically in tune. And so your communications director on his slide, and we communicated via email, and I asked him what the parameters were to post. Do I have control of the content? Do I need to run it by anyone? What needs to go on here? Oh no, you have total control. Okay, well that's good. I'll do the best job that I can. So I was making posts every day at noon, and I was being called an anarchist, and you know how these things generate those
10
kinds of.
seconds.
That's 3 minutes.
Yep.
Can I have 15 seconds to wrap it up? Well, to make a long story short, he went off on a very emotional rant in some Facebook messages and told me to get bent. He told me that he makes more money than I'm gonna make in a lifetime. There's some other things he did too. And I'm here to publicly censure him, and unfortunately he's not here. Black eye for the party, people.
He is here online, you heard it.
Oh, can you hear me, Lance? Did you have any?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is it time
I
to
can hear you.
talk? Is it time to
I do.
talk?
I make more money in a year than you'll make in a lifetime. Absolutely. So call me a communist again because I'll out-capitalist you all day, Regan.
This is unnecessary.
Get up. Get bent.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, we got it, cut it.
Okay, thank you. Frank?
As your liaison to Center-Right Coalition that meets here on Monday mornings, second Monday mornings, the literature that I picked up is a recall for Tom Sullivan in House District 37, Lincoln Club of Colorado meeting in Wednesday, June 26th, featuring Tim Jackson and Matt Grove for the Colorado Automobile Dealers Association. some of you may be aware that the Brattons that used to run Principles of Liberty have moved to Wyoming, and the Republican Liberty Caucus, Sue Moore, is trying to be their successor and has a grading sheet for State House and State Senate. And this is literature from this morning's meeting. Also, the Centennial Institute is putting Western Conservative Summit, which the topic is defending religious freedom and America's First Amendment. As my fellow attendee from Log Cabin Republicans felt that they seem to be drifting religious on us, but they're Republicans. And my other comment is with regards to the Denver elections, I was impressed that Olympic consent issue won by 80%.
What is that?
That was requiring that if any Denver money gets spent for Olympics, they have to get a consent of the voters. I do not know who organized that, but I think those individuals should be tapped into and be advanced. So that concludes Center-Right Coalition. Any questions from anyone? Yes, David.
What's the details on POL? So somebody is taking over the Colorado and
Sue Moore from the Republican Liberty Caucus is trying to take over, or at least give grades on fellow Republicans and hold them accountable.
So is she going to do the same analysis that?
She and 6 others were doing comparable analysis, but I don't know the full details. If you'd like her phone number, I can pass it to you.
Okay.
Did
Are
I?
they only,
Yes.
are they only doing it on Republicans?
No, this is all state legislators. Granted, you may think it's biased.
20 seconds.
May I continue?
20 seconds, go.
Oh, you may think it's biased because it just happens that the Democrats all get failing grades, but I won't go into those details. Yes.
Bracken's POL had actually started something in Wyoming, and we're running both at the same time. We're not.
Yeah, Colorado, and
Wow.
So are they continuing to do this in Wyoming?
I do not know. I don't know. Okay? Any other? More? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Oh, Mr. O'Brien.
I guess due to some changes here, I can take 3 minutes of public comment and another 3 minutes as a representative from Arapahoe County. I don't want to steal any thunder from any of your board members, but it was announced today that our chairman from Arapahoe County has officially thrown his hat into the ring for RTD board. Already had some press, even though his official announcement doesn't take place until a week from Thursday.
June 27th, if anybody's interested.
On another note, outreach. Big event coming this weekend. We need, and Anthony and I need help from everybody to not only attend, work the booth, but bring some other people in to work the booth. It's probably, I think it's the most fabulous event.
This is probably what
is the event?
It's Saturday, Sunday.
Dress the part too.
What is the event?
The name of the event. This is Denver's
what is the name of the
Pride
event?
Fest.
Pride Fest.
Annual event. I don't know how many years in a row we've done this for the party. Our friends from the Republicans of Denver are there. The Democrats from Denver are there. And the Libertarians from the entire state of Colorado are represented. And we're trying specifically, and I don't see anybody from the Denver group here, but would really like somebody to help us encourage that Denver group to get involved in the functions that take place in Denver. I think Arapahoe County would gladly bring them in and help build them to a point where they can split off and someday be independent. I think that's, as far as the volunteers for Pride Fest, since I no longer have access to the outreach director email, I'll try and work closely with Anthony so that we can schedule, make sure we don't have any dead spots in the schedule. But if you want to, or Anthony, you've got my email address, if you get people to commit to a time, if you want to forward that to me, I will keep a schedule for you.
Cool.
We have setup, I'm gonna be there at 8:30 Saturday morning for setup. There's a parade that goes on, so the festival doesn't physically start. This is my first 3 minutes, my second 3 minutes.
Your first 3 minutes are done, so your second 3 minutes.
Okay, clock starts again. So anyway, 8:30 for setup. There will be some break because the festival doesn't start until 11, leaving them time to do their parade. It will run from 11 to 7 on Saturday and from 10 to 6 on Sunday. So anybody wants to commit to be there at 8:30, help me set up. Anybody wants to work the last shift on Sunday and help me tear down, that would be greatly appreciated. Other than that, it's my hope just to be an extra guy as needed throughout the event, and I would appreciate if we have enough people to staff the event without me.
Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate you. Okay, any other public commentary? Yes, sir.
So, the following weekend, on the 22nd, we are going to have some libations and whatnot.
At 4:30 at your house.
Is it 4 o'clock?
4:30.
What day?
You're going to do training?
4:30. We're doing training. We're doing our thing until 4, and then at 4:30.
At 4 o'clock, we were going to do training
Yeah.
and invite the affiliates if they wanted to come and learn all about Robert's rules.
Yeah.
So,
Well, not all about it, just very, very, very basic.
rudimentary Robert's rules.
Yes.
So, I know you set up a Facebook event for that, but maybe some additional publicity, take it back to the affiliates and say, hey, if you want to know what rules or basics, we should send somebody.
Perfect. All right.
I yield the balance of my time.
Thank you. Any other public commentary? No? All right, Officer, read and approve minutes.
I missed that.
No.
No, this is the next thing.
Usually we have it after agenda approval.
Well-
Approving minutes, not after public comment, but if you want to move that.
Well, that's how I have, I'm just following what's written here. So
Mike,
it's
you did
your
that?
turn.
Go with it.
Well, everybody had a chance to read the minutes. John gave me some good feedback. So is there any objections to approve the minutes? from last
Any-
meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes, is there a second? Any objections?
And then, Mike Seebeck, do we need to approve the minutes from the convention as well, or we don't worry about that? I didn't get any, corrections.
Yes, you did.
I said.
Oh, I did? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Karen had some good corrections. Sorry, Karen.
Theoretically, the board should, as long as they've had a chance to review them.
Well, they're posted. and put out.
The corrections that were
Email
sent
went
this
to
afternoon,
everybody.
I'm not sure that everybody's had a chance to review what was sent this afternoon.
It wasn't
in
sent,
email.
you sent last
Oh,
week.
no, Karen had sent something this afternoon.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's this afternoon.
Corrections in the minutes?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah, there were some
Well, then
corrections
we
sent this
wanna wait
afternoon, I don't know
Mm,
if you wanna read them or, to approve them, or do we wait till next?
Oh, yeah, just you didn't like the word quorum.
Ms. Harless?
There's a procedure in the bylaws where the board does approve them and then puts them up on the website for public correction and comment, because really the convention delegates have a say as well. And then the board will take into consideration any of those comments and do a final approval. So it's like a preliminary, you post it for public comment, and then a final.
Okay.
So we already passed the preliminary as far as Mike?
It'll be in order.
If I can find out what Karen has referring to. Stop that. Sorry.
I move that we consider this next meeting because we don't have
Is
it.
there a second?
Second.
Any objections? We'll consider it in the next meeting. Okay, approval of the previous meetings minutes.
We already did.
Did we already approve it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we go to officer reports. Chairman report, I have nothing to add to mine. Yes,
At the board meeting following the convention, you asked that all the directors do a business plan, is that correct?
yes.
What's the status of those business plans?
I received most of them.
They were all-
They were all posted before last month's meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, they were posted last month and we went through that. Yeah, I have nothing to add to my report. I was asked by, one of the affiliates to get some funds for signs. I still don't have an actual quote for them, so I don't know how much money to allocate for signs for future events, but Outreach could, figure out signs for different outreach needs that you have and do it for next meeting.
So do we want to do a state fund for signs for the state and the affiliates can borrow as needed? Or do we want to allocate funds to each individual affiliate so they can buy them as they wish?
If affiliates wanna do their own signs, they can raise their own money or request them.
Okay.
But, I think we're talking about having something that affiliates can borrow,
Yeah.
what was brought to my attention.
Yeah.
So, that was what I had offered to bring up to the board this week. Anyway, I don't have any further, any changes to my report, motions to make. I know you had something that you wanted to bring up to your report?
Not at this time.
The resolution for that?
I didn't do that,
So that's all for my report. Question?
Nothing to add to my report, just what Mr. Goldbranson said. I did file my paperwork to run for RTD, and I've already been told to burn in hell. Yay!
Bravo.
And in the words of Jack Nicholson's Joker, if you think I'm bad now, if I get elected, wait till they get a load of me. That's all I had to add to my report.
John?
Nothing to add in my report.
Angela?
Nothing to add.
Campaigns. Michael's not here or on the phone.
Oh, he's on here. Yeah.
Michael Lopez?
Yeah, he is.
It's his turn.
I don't have anything to really report on. I've spoken to a couple of candidates. I uploaded that video of the Republican Party vice chair. I don't know if anybody was able to see that, but it circles back to what I was saying last month, that I would like to have some money allocated specifically for campaigns and specifically for local campaigns for 2019. But outside of that, that's all I got.
Is my understanding that you want to be able to raise money for campaigns specifically? Mike?
That would be the goal. I just want to have funds available so that I can tell some of these candidates they can help you out. I want to know what you're spending money on, but you at least have one source of funding as opposed to them trying to find every single source of funding that they can. They should be looking for other sources of funding, but we should also be contributing to trying to contribute to our own success. So that's my thought.
Okay, so is there a motion that you're making? to earmark some funds for you, or?
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
funds
I will make the decision that I made last time. I moved to allocate $10,000 to campaigns. Whether or not that money exists, we have to raise it, but I would like to allocate $10,000 to campaigns.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this?
I can't remember if that's okay for us to do. I'll have to check. Let's assume it's okay.
Definitely.
So I'm gonna look.
What's okay, John?
For us to give money that way.
To candidates because of the Secretary of State, right? Good question.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to table until next meeting?
Let's table it till next meeting, since we have to pending Secretary of State and other requirements, policy, and so forth.
Sorry about that.
Just as a point of reference, August 1st is generally the deadline for candidates to declare, so we have a little bit of time, but the sooner we can resolve whether or not the state will be providing funds specifically for campaigns, the better off everybody is. So I just want to throw that out there.
Understood. Yeah, we have to make sure it's legal, so. Any other thing to add to campaigns? Mike?
No, that's all I got. That's all I got.
Anthony?
The only thing I have is, of course, Breakfast this weekend, like Mr. Libertarian said. And if you want to volunteer, get with me. I'd also like to make a motion for $300 to replace the signs that we lost and for any future signs or material or whatever we may need in the future.
Is there a second? There's a motion on the table to spend $300 for signs and for outreach materials. Is there any objections or any discussion? Any objections?
Hi, Jack.
Who was that?
I think we could have, we could give the affiliates money as opposed to handing out the signs, so we don't run into this exact scenario again. That's my objective.
Okay, any other discussion? Since there was an objection, I think we need to go through a roll call for votes.
I didn't hear that objection. You were having repeated.
Would you repeat your objection, Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, I think we should give the affiliates, if they would like money for signs, we should give them money for signs. But I don't think the state party should have signs to check out because I have the distinct feeling we're going to run into the exact same scenario that is bringing this up now.
Have better accountability.
Mr. Stapleton?
My question is I believe that the issue at hand was the state party replacing signs of an affiliate that the state party used. Is that correct?
No, it was the affiliate lost the signs that belonged to the state party.
So
Now
the
the
signs
state
that
party
usually
does
belong
not
to the
have,
state party?
and so the state party no longer has such signs because they were lost at an event. And they would be used for events either by different affiliates or by the state or any.
Yeah, I'm just asking to refill them so that we can continue efforts. And if an affiliate wants to use them, they can use it.
We just have to find a different procedure.
Just be a
to
little more
check
careful
out.
next time.
Okay, any other further discussion on this? With no further discussion, we go to a vote. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Treasurer?
Yes.
Fundraising?
Sorry, so a yes vote is to approve the $300?
Yes.
Yes. My vote's yes.
Campaigns?
Yes.
Outreach?
Yes.
Affiliates Development Director,
Yes.
Legislative Director,
Yes.
Membership, Communications,
Yes.
Secretary,
Yes.
it passes. Anything further, outreach?
That's it for me.
Affiliate Development Directors.
The only thing to add is, whether it's Douglas working with Albert or Rapco with Adams, I mean, that's great, I love that, but just try to keep me in the loop, just so if you have a meeting coming up or something.
I know there's a meeting coming up on the 12th. Would you want to mention that?
Yeah, we have a meeting, Weld County, development meeting, pre-development meeting, 6 p.m. at Rio Grande Mexican Restaurant in Greeley. So anybody who can attend, it would be great to have you there. Anybody who can support, we appreciate it. Thank you.
I will be there. Yes, Mr. Stapleton.
I just want to add to the affiliates, Pueblo and Otero County are doing combined effort. Their meeting is on the 18th, I don't mean things that we, but, from the preliminary meeting, whether that will actually be kind of a relative meeting.
Okay. And I think I'm actually speaking to that one, so.
And the 29th, Delta County has a meeting.
Okay.
There's going to be a debate on the national popular vote. I am going to be there if anybody wants to drive out there. I'll be driving out there.
That's my report, other than, I will be, speaking, at the Ladies Liberty and Libations meeting on July 12th.
Where is that?
She's sending me the exact location there.
Is that the one down south in Parker, or is
Yeah.
that the one up north in Louisville?
That will be the one in Parker, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't been invited. But that should be fun.
Yeah. That'll be the one in Parker.
Mr. Spalding.
Are we, Mr. Legislative Director, are we organizing against the anti-table initiative, DD?
Yes, CCNDE.
Okay.
Because it was included in our report, that we
I
put
saw it.
together.
So we're gonna do some
Download.
organized,
Yeah.
because there is a group that's forming to do this as well, so I should mention to them that they need to contact you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Are you gonna contact the Cable Foundation on this too?
They're working on it, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
He's gonna.
Membership, is there anything else, Mike? Nothing else? Membership is not here. Communications.
Sorry, did you say communications, Victoria?
Yes, Lance, would you?
Chairman?
Yes, is there anything to add to your report?
Yes, I have a private communication that I would like to add for my volunteer. Wednesday, 12:17 p.m. I killed the noon post. The no victim, no crime was false, and the comment section was cancer. Pretty quick. Volunteer. Why did you kill it? My question, all caps, was relevant. Me. I'm the communications director. Number 2, the no victim, no crime was false. Instead of modifying the OP, you doubled down on it in the comment section. Volunteer. This is a very debated topic on DUI convictions and what it means to be addressing no victim, no crime. I clarified in the comment section again what the question was. It was not false. It was a statement and not a direct statement specific to the case. Communications director. It was false. He killed someone. That's a victim. The argument is over. The post has been killed. Thanks. Volunteer. Yeah, no shit. That was very clear. Wow. You decide what should be discussed or not and offer no discussion with me before playing commie leader and deciding to delete it? Find someone else to make posts. That's fucking bullshit. Communications director. Okay. Is this you resigning from the page? Volunteer. Yep. Goodbye. I don't play with commies. Communications director. Okay. Now I'm a communist. LOL. K. Volunteer. Date you act like that without having a discussion with me prior. Yeah, that's a commie. You're granted that kind of power to squash speech or lively discussion. You can keep it as I see it on another thread telling somebody to suck your dick. Okay, Mr. Communication, sounds like you've got an issue with power struggles, and I will not play stupid games with power-hungry pricks. That is exactly, all caps, why this party can't get their shit together. You want notoriety and control? Fuck that. Communications director, I make more money in a year than you will in a lifetime. That makes me a superior capitalist. Get bent, lady. That's my report.
Thank you.
Do I get a rebuttal?
No, he's just reading a report.
He's just reading his
Oh,
report.
that's his report.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah.
See you soon, Lance.
Secretary? Mike?
Oh, that's me. Just catching up on all those notes there. Okay, so standing rules specify that, I have nothing to add to my report, but we have an additional issue. So standing rules say that after 7 days, you should post the minutes. We discussed this previously, mainly with the previous board, and some people wanted to see them like a week before the meeting, so it'd be fresher in their minds, having minutes posted then or sent around to everybody. So what do we want to do? We want to follow the policy thing? Do we want to, we could send them out twice?
My thought would be that if you post them on the drive, that should be at least a week before the previous meeting, the next meeting, so we can check it out anytime we want to.
That's what we do now, but we'll also send around an email to everybody to remind them to take a look at the minutes and make sure they're okay. But, I mean,
Prior
so
to
that's
Wednesday before the meeting would be good to maybe send
right,
another
and
email.
that's what we've been doing. But it's noted that in the policy manual asks that 7 days after the previous meeting they be posted. So, or sent around for people to approve.
There's no public commentary at this moment.
So the question is for the board, what do you prefer? You guys want them right after the meeting while it's fresh in your mind, or right before the next meeting, so you see what we're up to before we start? Okay, I'll do my preference.
Anything else to add?
Yeah, the website lists only one person as elected official, elected Libertarian, so it doesn't look so good. And we've had many Libertarians elected, city council, dog catcher, well, I mean, other offices. And so I propose that instead of just listing one thing, looking at you, Dave, let's list everybody who's ever been elected as a Libertarian in Colorado, and I can help out with that list.
I think that comes from national. They are taking our data and putting up the current, the people who are in office currently, I think.
Okay, but I saw it on our state website.
That's a link that goes to national.
Oh, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we do that? Ignore national and put up our own list of elected candidates? Because it looks a lot better if they see that many Libertarians have served in office.
I'll have to ask Andy.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
Mr. Treasurer?
I looked at an excerpt from the SOS manual, campaign finance manual, and we are able to give money to candidates in the limits, depending on what the office is. And I sent that to, where did I send it to? I sent it to I sent it to fundraising and
Campaigns.
yeah.
Perfect.
So they have it. So I'm sorry for stopping that. If we need to go back to it, we can, right?
We could revisit that if, is that a
Well,
motion to
Michael
revisit
acted
it?
like it was. Yeah, I moved to revisit Michael's
Motion.
motion.
Motion to suspend the rules
To amend the agenda to address.
to amend the agenda to
That's
address
what I did.
campaigns.
Just
Right.
like that.
So there is a motion to suspend the rules to revise the agenda to go back to campaigns motion.
Second.
So now, what is the procedure?
Should be,
So we go right back to the motion?
Either 2/3 less. This is not-
Is there any objections to suspending the rules to go back to the motion the campaigns wanted? With no objections, we go back to the motion from campaigns. Michael, would you restate your motion? Mike,
I move to allocate $10,000 specifically to campaigns.
To allocate $10,000 specifically to campaigns?
Yes, ma'am, to be earmarked for local campaigns, recognizing that we are not going to take from the general fund and we will raise money ourselves.
That you will raise $10,000 for campaigns yourselves, okay. So the motion is that campaigns will raise $10,000 that will be earmarked for campaigns to be used on different campaigns. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, hold on.
There is a second. Okay, there was a
Go
second.
ahead.
Procedurally, the motion was originally laid on the table for further consideration. So you have a motion to take it off the table first before you consider it.
Okay, so we have to make a motion to take it off the table for consideration. Is there a motion to take the motion off the table?
Move to take it off the table.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any objections? None. Okay, now the motion is, the main motion is that we earmark $10,000 that will be raised by campaigns for candidates and for campaigns. Is there a second to that motion?
There
There
said
was
they're gonna
earlier.
raise it, right?
So
That was Lance earlier.
Yeah,
That
Lance
was
second,
Lance
Lance
seconded.
seconded.
it was second
Okay.
earlier, so it should still be valid.
Okay. Are you removing your second, Lance, or are you still seconding it?
I would keep the second.
Okay. Are there any objections or any further discussion?
I have a question.
Mr. Spalding?
So he's raising the money, and Mike, I hope you can hear this. He's raising the money with the help of fundraising. So is he accessing some of our best donors and diverting the money to campaigns as opposed to money that we would have raised for the general fund?
I was not looking at specific donors. I was just going to solicit small donations from anybody and everybody that can donate. I was looking at $5 donations. I wasn't looking to tap into high value donors. But again, and maybe it's because of my position, but I'm of the firm opinion that the majority of funds should be directed toward campaigns. But I recognize your concern there, but that wasn't the strategy that I was going to take.
Okay.
Mike?
And then for John, what's the reporting requirements? He's gonna have to report everything to you because it's being raised through the party. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? No. Are there any objections? Without objections, it passes. So moved. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Siobhan.
The minutes for the convention will be posted on the website within 60 days. That's just for the standing rules. And if you approve the order, so the deadline for posting is going to be on the 28th, I believe it's this month. And 90 will be.
So it was approved to post already. So we're good.
Then we should be able to.
Yeah.
The second thing.
Okay.
Secondly, check your customers.
Membership is not present. There was a comment about membership that wanted to be made. Ms. Harlos?
Yes, I'm working with John with the newsletter, and I'm going to be doing the initial draft for him, cover to cover, and then give it to him, obviously, for approval and revision. So in his absence here, I just wanted to ask the board members to send me things that they think should be, I'd like to hear your thoughts on things you would like to see included and some updates in your own various areas. But I would like to hear what everyone's thoughts are on what they would like to see regularly in it. And that would go for anyone else, because I see Michelle's also talking. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts. But I told John at this meeting that I would be bringing that up, and he and I have been speaking about this over email. I just wanted to give an update with that.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes, I've been talking with John too. I wasn't aware that Karen Ann was going to be doing this. I thought he was going to be sending me the information because I'm already forming the July
He had,
newsletter.
I have.
Okay, I think you guys have to
We'll
talk with John.
I'll talk with John.
We'll talk to John.
Yeah, we'll talk with him.
Mr. Gilbranson?
Yeah, just for those that may not have read John's report, he did ask specifically of each of the board members for contribution to the newsletter. So you should all make sure you look at what he's asked you for and provide that.
To John. Thank you. LNC reports of yes.
One more comment. You know, and the other thing, of course, is the affiliates could provide.
Yeah, I've been
updates.
speaking with them.
Okay.
I've been speaking, Douglas has some really good stuff, but I'm going to be getting with Eric for Rapso
And Ross, who's calling right now.
Yeah.
For
Jeffco.
For Jeffco.
Yeah. I saw Ross this weekend.
LNC reports. Is there anything from the LNC to report?
We do have a meeting coming up in July. So if there are any concerns anyone has, I would encourage you to get with Richard, who's your Region 1, or if he's unavailable in his absence, I would certainly be willing to bring any of your concerns. The last you guys may have heard is we were running officially, well, not technically, officially insolvent because of a bad budget passed by a past LNC. That has been corrected. So we are now we don't have any reserves, but we're no longer insolvent. And there's a new executive director, Daniel Fishman, who's been starting. So you might see some changes, you know, as, you know, the executive director actually has more control of the party than the chair does. They're a much more important figure. So as you start seeing some changes, if you like it, please give feedback. And if not, also please give feedback, because Daniel is new and will need some direction.
And the meeting is July?
It's the end of July in Austin. I'll email the board the exact dates. Of course, anyone's welcome to come to the meetings, but I'll get you the exact dates and the hotel and stuff like that. It's not too far away being in Austin.
Yeah, I was thinking about driving out there maybe.
I'll share a room with you.
That would be great. I'll either drive or fly. I don't know, whatever's cheaper. But yeah, I was thinking about going down.
Don't sweat my son's letter. That was just a minor goof.
Oh no, I didn't even know. I knew that. That was funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bylaws mandated committee reports, if any.
No status to report on.
So we
No,
have
no
we have,
status to report?
Bylaws committee to constitute, yes.
yeah, we have technology, database, policy, legislative. We have several committees.
And convention. Yeah, I delivered my final report.
I saw that. Is there anything to add?
No, unless anyone had any questions. There were a lot of recommendations in there that I didn't know if anyone would have any questions on.
I read those, and I think a lot of those were mentioned in previous conversation I had with Beatrice and Amy. I'm gonna have to compare the notes I have with the ones that you made, but they all looked very familiar. And thank you for the clean version of the spreadsheet.
Yep, no problem at all.
Thank you. Technology?
I have nothing, unless anybody's anything for me.
Any other committees? The policy manual committee, how's that coming along?
We just did a new revision that's in the minutes folder. We've added, because of our meeting on Saturday, it was Saturday, wasn't it? It was brought up that we really should add forms to the policy manual for it to have, you know, have it all in one place. So that's been added. Some of them are just skeletons, but some of them are in there. I would encourage everybody in the board to look at it, and I'm going to move the copy to the July minutes, you know, a second copy, and then July will be the one that I update as changes come. Just last Saturday's when.
Thank you.
Sorry for all the, I don't know how many revisions I've posted.
Yeah, we'll probably have
Every
to
2
look at
days
it
it's
in the
different.
next 30 days and look at it at the next meeting to take it. David, do you have something to say?
I've got my report when you get to it.
He's on his database.
Oh, we didn't get to that. Why
So,
did
so
we skip
Victoria, that agenda you have is not the agenda we usually use. I noticed, and the agenda we usually use has a nice list of all the committees and everything to make it easier to guide the meeting.
Hmm.
So maybe I'll send you an update
I
or
guess I got
something.
it from the wrong place,
I
because I
don't
just
know.
used.
But yeah, I noticed the one that you had posted doesn't
Yeah.
have, so, but anyway, database.
Alright,
is all right.
database?
Okay, besides my report, I got a couple of things. On the elected officials, these are coming out of our database. I will ask Andy about getting the current or the past ones in there, but these are all driven by the start of their term and the end of their term, and so that information needs to be entered into the database as well before it will work. So if somebody was in office between 2012 and 2014, those 2 dates need to be in the database.
So it's not that they're just putting the current ones, it's that they're not putting anything without dates?
Right.
Okay.
So that needs to happen. Number 2, I was not informed of the Weld County meeting, so it didn't go on the website and it didn't go on my last email blast. If you guys don't tell me about this stuff, it's not gonna get sent out to the members. So
I just found out about it recently too, so that's why I.
And I just found out about it tonight and put it on Meetup, so, yeah.
Okay,
You're not out of the
well,
loop.
It's a preliminary meeting too.
that's okay. I mean, we have about 30 or so people who have volunteered who live in Weld County. I don't know if anybody invited them, because nobody came to me for a list. Nobody came to me for a list of everybody who lives in Weld County, so you could call them up and invite them.
Just send me a list, I'll invite them
So,
personally.
I mean, the ball is getting dropped here. We're not getting information out to the members. So this needs to happen. It needs to happen for Weld County. It needs to happen for the Albert County thing. It needs to happen wherever we've got a meeting going. If we don't tell people, they're not gonna come.
I wonder if people don't really appreciate the power of database, where, you can filter stuff. And it's like magic.
It is like magic.
And,
It's very important.
If we don't know about that, we aren't gonna be able to use it. Maybe we should have lessons.
Yeah, how are the lessons coming along?
Well, I'm planning to do training sessions, Sunday and Monday night. And board members, and I've got several others on the list. So, I would appreciate it if all of you came to one of those meetings.
I will
Thanks,
be
Dave.
attending probably both, just because I need as much help as I can get. Yes.
And the other thing, and that is why I mentioned to keep me in the loop with these affiliate activities, because, I didn't know about the Weld County one either, so.
Where's the location of those meetings, Dave?
What?
What's the location for those meetings? I could look at your email
Zoom,
and see it.
Zoom meeting.
Oh, Zoom, okay.
Zoom. So you
Off
don't
in
have to
class.
go anywhere. You can sit at home in your underwear.
Thanks for the visual.
That's great.
I mean, I need to put underwear on.
Okay, let's get back to the point of order, please. All right, what's next? Have we finished all the bylaws mandated committee reports?
Legislative committee and campaigns committee.
Legislative committee? Is there a committee?
There's actually 2 committees. There should be the ballot initiative committee, which will be actively seeking volunteers to review and determine the LP positions and connect with other groups. And then second, the legislative action committee, which actually won't be become active again until September, prior to the legislative session.
We were talking about an issues committee, is that under you as well?
That's the ballot.
Is that the ballot initiative one?
Well, we have discussed, it was in my business plan, of looking to put together a issues committee to have a group of people determine what the top 3 to 5 issues are for libertarians in Colorado, so that we can kind of, instead of trying to take on all issues, we can narrow it down and focus on those and be a little bit more focused and active in those issue areas.
Anything further? And campaigns committee, have we formed the campaigns committee yet? Not yet. Michael?
There's no committee formed yet. We have applications, but beyond that, there's nothing there.
Okay, thank you. Any other bylaws mandated committee reports? Standing committee reports, which are the standing committees?
Convention committee's the only one I know.
Convention committee, the new convention committee, Angela?
Applications were sent out. I haven't received any responses yet through that, but I do have people who are willing to volunteer for the committee that I've talked to earlier. So I think I'm just waiting until I see if anything else comes in, and then most likely I'll just be forming the convention committee with the people that have already expressed interest.
Thank you. Style, I believe, is one of those standing committees. It's under new business, okay. Special committee reports. No? Is there any unfinished business from last month?
Yes, there is.
Go ahead.
So I would like to appoint Kat Martin to the platform committee. My understanding was that at convention there was a hiccup with procedural rules, and we have to appoint. So my understanding was Kat won the vote, so I would like to appoint her to the platform committee.
Okay, that is actually under new business,
We're there.
not under unfinished business.
We finished unfinished and we're in the new business.
We were on
I don't
unfinished
think so,
business.
because we talked about the new committee, new convention committee, that's under.
She asked,
under stuff.
she asked about unfinished business, he brought up this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ah, good point.
Okay, so no unfinished business, new business. Now, the style committee appointment, the National Platform Committee representative. There's other things first. Okay, so Eagle County Police possible lawsuit. This was brought to our attention by one of the members in, one of the members of the party, that there was a breach of First Amendment violation by Eagle County Police to several people, several libertarian, members of the Libertarian Party. And they want to sue Eagle County Police for breaching the First Amendment and would like the support of the board. Mr. Stapleton.
What do they mean by support of the board? Are they looking for financial support, or are they just looking for a resolution saying we support their efforts?
The understanding I have is that they were looking for a resolution saying that they would support their efforts and that we would support their efforts.
We don't really know anything about this. Do we have some kind of information sheet or something from them?
That was all I had, was that there was a false arrest of one of our members, and then there was silencing the police of people who commented and posted on the police page, and those comments were deleted. However, the comments have been screenshotted before they were deleted by the police, and it was several party members. Anyway, that was brought to my attention. I don't have any further information, so maybe we put it for a next meeting, table it until the next meeting when we have further information.
It's something we need to tread lightly on.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very touchy, especially,
Yeah. So we'll table it for next month when we have further information, if that's okay. Any objection to tabling it till next month? No?
No, we had,
National Platform Committee Representative is the next thing on the agenda. There was a, issue with the way that our platform representative was elected. As per Article 8 of our bylaws, the National Platform Representative is supposed to be elected by written signed ballot.
What? Is that in there?
Yes, it is.
Right? Okay.
Yes, it is. Would you mind?
Okay. I'm gonna hand these out so everybody can see the analysis of the situation. It'll make life a lot easier. This actually was slated for last meeting, but we postponed it.
Did you hand it out last meeting? I still have the handouts from last meeting.
Yeah, it's the same handout.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same handout. The issue was that we didn't have enough time to actually read it and look at it last month, so
Okay.
we put it up for this.
I don't recall
I'd
us
like one of
putting,
those. Can I get one of those?
I don't recall us putting ranked choice voting in our bylaws.
No, ranked choice voting was put in by the committee, the convention committee rules for
Okay, but
convention
this
only,
says
that
it's
were
in the-
against our
oh.
bylaws actually.
Oh, it's in the standing rules, okay.
Were the standing rules for convention, but they were actually not per our bylaws. Per our bylaws, it should have been
Approved. Oh,
written signed ballot approval voting.
and
And we
was
did a
this part of
standing
the
vote, not
experiment
a.
that we did? No.
No, that was just an
That
experiment.
was another time.
That was the experiment we did,
Oh,
but
that
it was
was the
just an experiment.
But we didn't follow the ranked choice because we were following approval
The
voting.
ranked choice
Right.
experiment has nothing to do with this.
Right.
Okay. It's
So
just
it has to
official.
be approval voting
Right.
in writing with a signature in order for it to be correct. Is that right?
That's actually a.
And in order to
not quite.
cure this,
If you look at page 2, the signed paper ballot is a vote for up to X persons style of vote. Because it's supposed to mimic the election of delegates to the National Convention, which is a vote for an up to X number of delegates. So it follows the same procedure, so it would be vote for, in this case, up to 1 representative, which is.
Well, up to 3, because we traditionally do a rep, an alternate, and a second alternate.
That's true, we are allowed alternates, so.
and the body voted cat in with using the approval voting by standing, hang on a second, and then had a first and alternate based on the number of votes. In order to cure this, we would have to do a vote by the board, written.
There's 2 ways to address it.
Okay, what are the 2 ways to address it? Would you please?
Sure. The first way is simply that the vote is nullified and re-elect, do another vote according to the proper procedure at the next state convention. The problem with that is that by that point, the National Platform Committee will have been constituted, will be doing business, and will not have our seat at the table.
Right.
So that's the last piece, the latest date for the convention for us is a month out from national. So logistically, that's crazy. The second way to do it is that the board can do this under Article 8, Section 1 of the bylaws. However, if we do that, then it would have, then the board would need to resubmit applications for anybody else who wanted to apply for it.
Mr. Spalding?
I would argue that we had our delegates there, that the convention is a one-shot thing, and that any errors that we made happened, but the vote of the people that were there was what came out. And if we didn't catch it at that time, we don't have a right to go back. And you see that with actual legal stuff. If they miss something at the time, they don't go back and redo it. And in this case, it's just a voting method.
Kat and then Ms. Harlows.
So our bylaws are available in whole on our website, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Right here, I'm looking at Article 8, it stops at Section 2. I just want to make this aware. I don't see Section 4 on the website. I think maybe that this needs to go. under
That might be in the new
Article
bylaws. That's
Article 7.
Oh, Article 7.
Article
Section
7,
4.
okay.
Yeah, Article 7, Section 4,
Okay.
Article 8, Section 1.
Retracted.
Cool, thank you. Ms. Harlows.
What Mr. Spalding said was correct except for bylaws. Breaches that are not raised at the time are waived except for bylaws, which is a continuing breach and can never be waived. So things done in contravention of the bylaws are null and void.
Is that in the Robert's Rules of Order?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Just fair.
Yeah.
Mr. Bill Branson.
I would just like to express a concern here. The original standing rules, convention rules, were to have a ranked choice vote. There was a motion to suspend the rules to modify that to be approval voting, was accepted by the body. Which seems to be a conflict right now in interpretation of the bylaws even, that it's, I agree with him, it's one. I don't know that we've ever had in writing anywhere that said we would elect an alternate and a second alternate. This just seems like an incredible circle jerk and comedy of errors and mistake. You know, the body spoke. If you want to eliminate our possibility of having somebody and take it to next state convention, go ahead.
Ms. Harlows.
I would actually submit that Mr. Seebeck was incorrect on one point. There are not two options. The bylaws say if a convention is before the deadline for nationals appointments. Our next convention is not before the deadline for national appointments, therefore that is not an option. There is only one option on the table for the board. The standing rules were also in violation of the bylaws. So the standing rules, that rule adopted was void. It was in contrary to the bylaws. The bylaws ruled in this case.
So what is the way to fix this?
The board needs, so that there's only one option, is that the board then selects. As far as never having alternates and whatever, our bylaws even mention the alternates. And last year, we had a first and second alternate. Last convention, Mike was the first alternate and Mr. Piccarello, I think, was
So the board must select, do we have to do it with a written signed ballot by the board, or do we just do it as a vote?
It's a written signed ballot, but you have to submit for applications ahead of time, because this is a brand new vote.
However,
So we are creating and so we would have to create a vacancy and request applications for people who are interested, and then have the board vote?
Yes.
Mr.
Mike has a couple parliamentarian
Hang on.
points.
Well, is there any way, maybe that was what we were gonna say, is there any way we can vote to say that we made a mistake and we're affirming what the assembly decided? That it
That's
was
what I would
decided,
think
but
we need to do.
there were procedural errors?
And I
Without
spoke with
doing-
Mike Goddard, who told me that that would be a way to do it, that the board would be able to just appoint someone that we would not
Or ratify what happened.
ratify what happened, yes.
Okay, let me walk through some points here in this procedure on this. Because the bylaws specifically state that we elect national committee reps, or delegates, and alternates in separate ballots, that's the procedure we also have to use for elections of reps and alternates in national committees. There'd be two separate votes for that, because that's a follow that procedure. So it can't be one rep and the alternates on the same ballot. They have to be separate. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is that the nullification appointment is inherent because of the errors in the procedure in the first place. You can't violate the bylaws. Yes, nobody noticed the standing rule violating bylaws, including myself. You know, my case for that, I deserve it. And the basic line of it is the board can appoint a new platform committee rep, and they can appoint alternates, but it would require separate votes.
Okay.
Do they have to be signed ballots?
Yeah, yes, they would be.
Do we have to put out applications for new candidates, or can we just vote for the same people that had already been elected by the body, because that's what the body's
Right.
wishes were?
Good point.
And then Mr. Stapleton, I'll,
Let's take him while
okay,
look it up.
he's looking it up, go ahead.
So if I'm reading this correctly, it says the first step is to explain to the delegates declare the seats vacant, and then make it a do-over. Then it says a notice in the newsletter. So when is the next newsletter gonna be published?
Who knows?
And secondly, before we even get into the process of voting, something needs to be put out to the delegates. We have the list of attendees to the convention. We need to get something in their hand via email, because if it's not gonna be in a newsletter, we need to get that out there. Secondly, when we put that out there, I would like to get their feedback on the issue and have that presented to the board.
So is that a motion that you want to do,
That could
or
be a
is
motion.
that,
I would make that a motion.
is there a second?
Second.
Would you repeat the motion so that we can,
The motion would be to immediately notify the convention delegates, convention voting delegates via email. And secondly, seek their feedback as delegates into this situation.
is there any discussion?
What about delegates who don't have any, or do we have any of those?
We could find
Maybe
out. Ms. Harlow, you had a question?
There's several observations here, and Mr. Stapleton's idea, I think, is very well taken. I wouldn't do it by email, I would send them mail, it wasn't that many of them, and send them ballots and let them do it, and the board can resolve amongst itself to follow whatever those ballots are, and then you'll have to cast additional ballots because the signed ballots have to be yours. But I think Mr. Stapleton's idea of sending out ballots and then just agreeing to what the delegates, after they realize what happened, do. I mean, that's something you
And they
guys
have
can.
to
would
have
that
3
be
ballots and
appropriate?
sign each one.
Yes,
Would that be appropriate according to the bylaws?
Not really.
yes.
Probably.
Yes.
This seems kind of academic, and maybe it's me, but it seems like we're kind of getting in the weeds here. If we want to notify the delegates what happened, we should probably do that, but I think that if we have the option to appoint somebody, we should just go with what the vote was, regardless of whether the rules were broken or not. The vote was cast, the delegates made their opinions heard, so we should just go with that as opposed to getting into the weeds of what, we need to take this as a learning opportunity and say, you know what, we kind of screwed up, but we're honoring the vote of the delegates. That's my opinion, and we should just appoint the representative and the alternative, the alternate as was voted at the convention.
Is that a motion? Oh, we got a motion. on the
There's a motion. Mr. Hale?
Is there any time frame that this has to take place, or could we do it as humanly, as quickly as possible, or,
I can answer that. The LNC has to constitute the National Platform Committee by December 21st.
Oh, lots of
So we have until December 21st.
So there's some time to sort this out.
Mr. Stapleton, you had
I think it was actually January 21st.
No, it's December
Okay,
21st.
I'm going by memory.
Convention date.
Yeah, I think, even if the board were just to automatically assume, and make the appointments, before we do that, it's a must. We have to notify the delegates. We can't just, it would be highly inappropriate just to take a vote without notifying the delegates of what transpired.
Ms. Harless?
I would note that there was actually an inaccuracy stated. In one sense, you know what the delegates thought, but 3 separate ballots is different than 1 ballot with 3 results. And there's an entirely different strategy of voting then. So no, you really do not know, using the system that we're supposed to use, what the will of the delegates is. You have a good idea, but when there's 3 ballots, people may choose to vote differently. That's just a simple fact of the way ballots are.
Thank you for your, we go back to the motion, and what?
Two things. One, to answer the question earlier, soliciting more applications is required by Article 8, Section 1. And the other piece of this is just a personal note. I know I was a candidate for this position. I'm not trying to undermine Kat. I'm not trying to undermine anybody. I just want this done correctly, however this works out. And if it turns out however it's gonna be, I'm fine with that.
And
I
wasn't
wanna make
Karen
sure
Ann also a
everybody understands
candidate?
it.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I have the first alternate seat. It's against my interest to risk that. But it was not, I don't think, done properly, and we need to do things properly.
I just want it done right, folks. That's what it comes down to.
Okay.
Question.
Yes, Jim.
If we're gonna send ballots out, is it just to the people who were at the convention?
Right, because they were the delegates.
Not the whole damn state?
Just the people that
Just
were
the
there
convention that day.
at the convention that day
That day,
that
okay.
voted.
We could get that information from the credentials
But
committee,
we
who was
don't know
credentials
who
on Sunday.
Michelle?
How do you go about soliciting for new applications? Would that be just to the people that were at the convention, or do you solicit to the entire state?
45,000 libertarians.
Goes to everybody?
Same way the originals did.
Michael, you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, if we were to send out ballots, this is why I think the board should. I know it's unpopular, and I know people want to do it right, but I think this is where we need to make an executive decision, because if we send out ballots to all electors as the convention states, then my opinion would be that if we were going to, and it gets really weird if we do it this way, if we send out ballots, it should be not only to the people that were at convention, but I see issues with people thinking, you know, wait a minute, if you're sending out ballots for an election that maybe I didn't attend the convention, but I am an elector and I do have the ability to vote, why didn't I get a ballot? I think it gets too messy for us to do that. So
The delegates had the opportunity to be at conventions, so only delegates, not electors, but only the delegates would get a ballot.
Well, but the electors would be anybody that's registered libertarian, so.
Right, so not the electors, but the delegates.
Only credentialed delegates on that Sunday would receive ballots.
Right,
Only
credentialed
credentialed
delegates.
delegates on that Sunday would receive the notification that election was done improperly and needs a do-over. Whether the board appoints or whether we take their ballots into consideration.
I understand that. I will simply raise a point to the board. I think that if people that weren't at the convention but were able to be there but weren't for whatever reason are going to raise a stink, and we're just creating a bigger mess for ourselves. I'm just going to raise that point.
Quite noted. Michelle?
Yeah, if you're sending out applications to all of the electorates, then you have to send ballots out to all of the electorates. I don't think it's fair to send applications out and somebody who may not have been at the convention might decide they want to be on this platform committee, but they weren't at the convention.
That's true. Yeah, if we're soliciting new applications.
John?
Is it appropriate to just do a redo of, instead of a new election, but just a redo of that election? Kind of keep it like,
With those
is
three
it just the
same
delegates were there,
candidates that were
just
already
those
there?
candidates?
Because the
And not
convention
opening it
charter
to,
indeed, no, can't.
you can't?
No.
Okay. Ms. Harlow?
There were more than three, there was 5 candidates, I think.
Right.
It's not required because the people who apply are never required to be at convention. You're not even required to apply. I mean, Ms. Martin did not apply. You're not required to apply, and you're not required to be there, but you are required to give an opportunity for application where people can list their qualifications. If someone chooses not to apply, that's their choice. But the application process is to give the people who will be casting a ballot enough information.
So here's my question, since there was already an opportunity for the people to apply for the position or to be candidates and they did not, other than the 5 that were there, why should we open it again for the whole general public?
Good point.
I think the bylaws, the clear reading of it requires that.
The bylaws requires
Mr. Matthew.
soliciting applications, it doesn't
So,
require by your determination.
would this, if my understanding is correct, would this be opening it to more delegates since essentially we wouldn't, or would we be
More
it'd be
candidates,
the same
not
set
more
of delegates,
delegates.
or
I think delegates, more applicants maybe.
more applicants?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I see.
Thank you. Any further discussion? So we were back at the motion. What was the motion on the table?
Hey, Mike,
Mike.
did you want to modify your motion?
What was the motion
Yes,
again? You wanna-
I just want to modify my motion. I want to take the ballots out of it. My motion is going to strictly be notification. Notifying the delegates that a mistake was made, that we give them proper notification that a mistake was made, and that there will be further discussion on how we're going to approach rectifying it.
So there is a modification to the motion to notify the delegates that a mistake was made and that we will take proper action.
Further discussion on how we're going
how
to rectify it.
There we go, everybody get that. Is there any, there's a second, is there any objections? Well, there was already the discussion.
It's quite a
Is
bit.
there any other discussion on this?
Well, I
Mr.
think
Gallant?
we should set out what we plan to do according to the policy manual bylaws. Rather, if we say discussion, I'm just afraid that could be an eternal debate.
So you're saying tell them there was a mistake made and what we're going to
And
do about it?
we're going to follow the policies and bylaws and do what we're supposed to do.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to a board appointment. No?
No, it could be a vote.
We could send ballots.
Okay, so there's a motion to modify the motion so that it will read that,
We would notify the delegates who attended the convention that a mistake was made and that we are discussing.
and what was the modification to the modification of the motion?
How would you word that, Mike, as far
Is that
in accordance with the bylaws?
In accordance
So
with
we
the
will
bylaws.
proceed in accordance with the bylaws.
Okay, wait a minute, we have, let's back up half a second. The main motion was originally Stapleton's proposal to notify plus ballots. He then moved to amend his own motion to remove the ballot part.
Right,
Okay, so the next part is an amendment to that amendment,
right.
which is what,
There would be to notify the members and inform them that we would proceed according to the bylaws.
yes, that's kind of how we would, yes.
So the
That's
motion,
good.
the amendment of the motion is that, the amendment to the amendment of the motion is that we will notify the delegates that were present that day that there was a mistake made on the election of the platform, of the national platform representative, and that we will proceed in accordance with the bylaws. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Any opposed? Without opposition, the motion
Now
passes.
we're back to the amendment, the first amendment.
Well, it's the
main motion.
second
The
amendment
second one
that
passed
passes.
to amend the first amendment. Now you got to amend the.
Just ask if there's objection for the next.
Is there any objections?
No, okay.
So-
Now we're on the main motion.
Right.
So now we're on the main motion,
Right.
which is to
Notify the delegates.
notify the delegates that we will pass, that we will proceed in accordance with bylaws and that the mistake was made.
Right.
Okay, and there was a second already, are there any objections to that? Without objections, the motion passes. Style Committee appointment, we need 3 board members to volunteer.
Doesn't need to be board members, can be members.
We need 3 members to volunteer to the Style Committee, anybody wanna volunteer to the Style Committee?
Mike and I are already on it.
Right.
Yeah, we need 3 more people.
I will volunteer again.
Thank you, Mike.
can't say that I have the time to do it. That's why I won't volunteer unless I know that I can commit to it.
It's all right, Kat, we got plans for you.
Well, to be fair, at least from first look, platform is next to nothing style-wise. And there are some stuff in bylaws, but a lot of it is terminology adjustments. So it's nowhere near the level of stuff we've had in the past.
So
So
it's
far
very
we got
simple
Mike
and-
Lopez.
Well,
Yeah.
Mr. Hirschman?
Platform's capable. Not the Hirschman behind you, you.
Anybody else want to volunteer to this?
I was
So-
volunteering Mr. Hirschman.
Do you have time and patience to do so?
I guess I could do that.
Okay,
So that's 2 out of 3.
that's 2 out of 3, we need one more.
All right.
Mr. Mulder? Mr. Mulder has volunteered. We have 3 volunteers. Is anyone objecting to those 3 volunteers? Is there anybody else who would like to volunteer? No? Are there any objections to the volunteers who have stated their interest in it? No? No objections. We have 3 volunteers. So Mr. Lopez, Mr. Mulder, and Mr. Hirschman will be added to the style committee. Thank you very much for your service. CRM training will be Sunday
That's David.
June 16th at 5 p.m. and Monday, June 17th at 7 p.m. There are 2 different sessions. Please make sure to attend. Also, Saturday the 22nd, drinking and shenanigans over at Kevin and Michelle's at 4:30. We will have a short training by Mark Goddard on rules of order, and then he will be bartending for us as well. So there's an open bar. There's one more thing I wanted to ask. No, not at the same time. There's one thing that I would like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to request $200 for food for that event. Would anybody second that?
Second.
Is there any opposed? 'Cause
I'm opposed.
you can't oppose. You guys are providing liquor and food and always, so I'm asking for help from the board. No, to approve it, so that we can spend that on food for that. Yes, Mr. Gilbranson.
The Gilbranson and Poe contingent would like to volunteer to spend $200 in kind for food for that event.
Thank you. So there's no need for a motion. All right, thank you very much.
All right.
The 22nd at 4:30 p.m.
This month, right?
Yes, of this month. Is there anything further?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.